their series against the Grizzlies, which begins at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday on ABC. This is the first ever playoff meeting between the two squads. Earlier today, Ja Morant was asked how the team is approaching this series. Take a listen.
Really didn't care who we played, honestly. It was just, once I found out, locking into the scout and, being prepared for whichever team we had. Obviously, we do got the Lakers, so we got to focus in on them. But, the mindset doesn't change. We're a very confident team.
All right, NBA champ Matt Barnes now joins us in beautiful California. Matt, what do you make of this matchup between the new kid Grizzlies and the vet Lakers?
It's going to be interesting. Anytime you come into a matchup like this, you want to have the best player on the floor. And I feel like, with all due respect to Morant, he'll be there one day, but AD and LeBron are going to be the two best players in this series. And what scares me for Memphis, although they had a great season, they lack front court depth. With the injury to Brandon Clark and Steven Adams not able to be in this series, and Triple J, who's up for possibly Defensive Player of the Year, is prone to foul trouble. So if he happens to get in foul trouble this series, they have no frontline depth. They called up young Kenny Lofton, who's played well in his few NBA appearances, but the playoffs is a whole lot, whole different story. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Although the Grizzlies are 2 in the West, they better come with their A game, because if the Lakers are hot, it's going to be a long series.
I'm surprised you didn't say anything about the little beef between them. Things get a little chippy when these two teams play. All right, the Pelicans were eliminated from play-in.
Well, that goes without saying.
Okay, of course. We like it when there's a little drama. So the Pels were eliminated from the play-in tournament by the Thunder last night, and despite seeing him warm up and dunk pregame, they were without Zion Williamson once again. Now, earlier this week, Zion said he felt physically fine. It's just a matter of when he feels like Zion. As a former player, I feel like a lot of players are starting to have this conversation a little bit more. How difficult is the balance between your physical and mental health?
Well, we just kind of have to be careful when we talk about this, because we prioritize mental health so much for athletes now, but then when they bring that up, it's an issue. So I think what Zion really meant to say was, I've had to come back from a knee injury, and that the hardest thing to do is to trust that injury. So this hamstring has given him problems for a while, and the hardest thing to do is come back, go full speed, and trust that injury, because you can work out, you can train, but all that stuff is kind of timed and meticulous. In action, it's just instinctual and reacting. And I think that's what he's a little nervous of. So I think obviously he's going to take some heat, because everyone saw him dunking with ease and warm-ups, and he says he's physically okay. But that mental hurdle is something that is difficult to get over. But with that being said, the only way to get over that hurdle is to get back out there in the fire and really see what you're about. So hopefully this season, this offseason, he'll get 100% healthy, and we're able to see a healthy Zion Williamson, because if we can see a healthy Zion Williamson, the Pelicans are definitely a team to be reckoned with, because he's an extremely talented young guy. He just hasn't really been healthy enough to be on the floor.
Yeah, it's super tough when you can't see your mental health, how you can really evaluate where a player is. Matt, thank you so much. Tomorrow night on the ESPN and the app.
The Lakers outlast the team with no T to earn the number 7 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. LeBron had 30 points, 10 rebounds in the 108-102 OT win over Minnesota in the play-in. The Lakers will now face the number 2 seed Grizzlies, and that's exactly what Dylan Brooks wanted based off what he said yesterday before Memphis knew who they would face. Take a listen.
I don't really dislike nobody. I just bring a competitive edge. But I wouldn't mind playing LeBron in a 7-game series.
Why?
The legacy's there. First time back in the playoffs, knock them out right away in the first round. They'll test us good, They got good pieces, good players, and that'll be a good first-round matchup for us.
S.A., reaction to what Brooks just said there?
Well, first of all, I love it, because he's letting you know what he wants. He wants the big challenge. Obviously, he believes they can beat him. They can pull him off. It's talking about sending home a legend in the first round. That's a direct statement from him, essentially.
Yeah.
He's got to play better in order for them to help him do it. I mean, what is it? I'm looking at his numbers right here, Jay. Shot 39% from the field, 32% from three-point range. He's going to have to do a little bit better, because I think that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to try to force them to do that. If you're thinking about Bane and the way you talked about he's played this year and his shooting capability, and you obviously know what Ja Morant can do and what have you. I mean, who's the person that you want to take a chance on when it comes to shooting the ball? It might be Dylan Brooks at that particular moment in time. We've got to take all of those things into consideration. But for me, I love the fact that they have that kind of moxie. I thought they were a little bit out of control last year and into this season before the whole John Morant thing came in the fold. Once that happened, I think they got significantly more serious about their business. I think they played better basketball since Ja returned, and I think that that's helped them because if you remember, at that particular moment in time, we were looking at the Memphis Grizzlies and we saying, yeah, they talented. Yeah, they one of the top 3 teams in the West, but they talking a lot of smack for somebody that hasn't won anything. You know, at some point in time, you got to back it up and you got to deliver. I love the fact that he wants to accept this challenge. I love their swag. I love how they talk, so long as they back it up. And he obviously is somebody that is an instigator. He's one of those, he's going to be a future Hall of Fame pest. That's what he's going to be. That's who Dylan Brooks is, and I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I loved it too. And I took this as a very reasonable soundbite.
Okay.
And I took it as a sign of respect that he was showing LeBron. I mean, he mentioned the word legacy, of course. The legacy is there. And he also said this is going to be a test. And I think this is a Memphis Grizzlies team that for the last 2 seasons, I believe that internally they have championship aspirations. Like they legitimately think that they can go out and win a championship. And the idea that in the first round, you get that test. And Rondo was on the show yesterday, and he talked about how difficult it is to beat LeBron James in a 7-game series. So good for Dylan Brooks, if that's what they want. You bring up the offensive stuff with Memphis again, because I know we had talked about it earlier. And I'll keep hammering this point home because I think it's important.
Okay.
To me, the key for the Grizzlies is not how Ja Morant plays.
Okay.
I think Ja Morant is transcendent, and he's going to figure out a way to have an impact and be productive on the offensive end. To me, it comes down to Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay.
In the half court, can those guys produce against this Lakers defense?
Okay, somewhat I agree with you. First of all, Jaren Jackson Jr., definitely. But with Steven Adams and Brandon Clark out, you know that the Lakers believe AD's got to have a big series. Obviously, Jaren Jackson is prone to foul trouble. How he plays effectively, how effective he plays is going to determine a lot. No argument there. I just think that it's not just about his offensive efficiency. It's about him making sure he stays in the game. And it's that defensive presence that gives you those 3 blocks a game. You're going to need something like that against the Los Angeles Lakers from time to time. That's one. But I would tell you that I think that because of Adams and Clark's absence, I anticipate the Lakers' offense to be a bit more effective and productive because I think they're going to throw the ball aside, try to get Jaren Jackson in foul trouble, try to make things happen. As a result of that, Ja's going to need to be transcendent. I'm not saying those other players can't produce like you're saying, but I'm not going to minimize what's going to be needed from Ja Morant because I think games are going to be tight. And you're going to need that.
So you're basically saying that because of the Lakers emphasizing we're going to attack Jaren Jackson Jr. and try to get him in foul trouble with Anthony Davis, he's going to be asked to have so much defensively that's going to be on Ja to produce. Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
How many technicals does Dylan Brooks have? And can he get suspended a game because he's Mr. Technical Foul?
I think it resets.
I know, I'm sure it does. No technical fouls, please. Okay. And one thing about Memphis, they are awfully chatty because they played Golden State pretty well last year in the second round. You know, they had a chance. They could have won it. They lost in 6. Morant was hurt a lot. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Take it easy. I mean, they make it sound like they won 5 championships.
That's what they were being accused of.
So from that standpoint, I would prefer that maybe he not get LeBron riled up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
They're a
not
little
what
chatty.
Why would you prefer that? I understand why their coach would prefer that. Maybe some of their teammates. Why would you, Mad Dog Russo, talk radio, own channel, 3 hours a day? Why would you prefer that he not agitate LeBron James?
You know, he's not Larry Bird, Dylan Brooks.
Everybody's not Larry Bird.
Can I ask you a question?
Who is Larry Bird?
Is there any way, at any point in time, you can reference a current player?
Yeah, how about that?